Hey, what's up, everybody? Happy Friday. Haha. What an amazing week. Uh man, just a lot of crazy stuff has been happening in the market. All good stuff, I think. We had Trump coin last weekend. A lot of excitement there. Trump did deliver on some of his campaign promises. I would say my prediction, I said one day for the strategic Bitcoin reserve. Took a couple of days, but what he came out with yesterday, repealing SAB 121, which basically banks are allowed now to hold Bitcoin on in their balance sheet. And he also created the framework for a digital asset stockpile. I'll call that a win. So I'll take that. All right. But one thing I did see this weekend, which kind of gave me the idea for this video, and I wanted to kind of go over with you guys, was when we get to these parts of the market, right, where things are happening so fast and, the news cycle is dominated by this stuff, it creates an opportunity of FOMO, right? So FOMO is fear of missing out. So it's our natural inclination where maybe, hey, I've been making these videos for 2 years and telling people, hey, this and that, Bitcoin, whatever. And all of a sudden, the price is the best advertising, right? So as these things happen and you start to see it in the news, it's human nature that you're like, oh, shoot. And then you try to chase it. Okay. That is a terrible strategy. And I speak from personal experience, right? So that's what today's video is about, right? Is what I learned, things that I do now differently, and the changes I've made in my life, and then what my strategy is. And, some of my friends were asking me how to buy Trump coin and, what about XRP or this one or that one? And I'm talking them out of it. And I'm just like, I wouldn't do that. I don't buy that stuff. So here's why. All right. So personality, that's a big one. Okay. So there's a thing called Myers-Briggs. There's 16 different personalities. And back in 2021, I did a Myers-Briggs and I found out that I am an ENFPA. All right. So extroverted, intuitive, feeling, prospecting, assertive. Okay. And so what does that mean? That means I do a lot of, I'm energized by social interaction. I'm enthusiastic. I'm excited. Right. How does that translate to investing? All right. And I can tell you around the time that I did this, before I knew this about myself, right, and I took the time to analyze it and I learned a few things, I was not a very good investor. I made a lot of mistakes. I definitely FOMO'd. Everything was excitement driven, right? I was chasing stuff, so I learned some very valuable lessons, and I'll get into that. But what I learned once I did my personality profile and I started doing a little bit of research, I learned this. All right. If you have an F and P in your Myers-Briggs, generally these types are not successful at trading because they cannot remove emotion. What? So true. I got to say, so true. Right. And when I read that, it was like, man, okay. Because listen, like a lot of you know me through real estate, right? And I've always said, even at that time, before I knew, right? I just knew that I was like, look, there's a part of my brain that can walk into a building, look at a multifamily property, look at a piece of real estate, and instantaneously I can make a snap judgment decision right away and know if this thing has potential or not, and quickly put together a pro forma and some ideas of what to do with it. So I always thought to myself, all right, whatever part of my brain can do that for real estate could easily do that for stocks and crypto. And I could translate that across investing and be successful. The difference of real estate, stocks, and crypto is real estate sales process takes 15 to 90 days. So the process is slowed down. There's a lot of checks and balances. A lot of the emotion is taken out of it. Stocks and crypto, as fast as you can click a mouse, man, you can make some moves and you can do some damage. So learning that and understanding that, right? And then I saw this, which was quite fascinating. Trading profitability by personality attribute. Okay. And here's me all the way here on the right, this big red line with no blue. Red is loss, blue is profit. Okay. So F&P personality types, which is your boy, 99% loss. So 100%, right? So right there, I'm like, all right, my personality is not my natural inclination, the things that I naturally want to do emotionally and chasing stuff and FOMOing in is not going to work. So, right there, but that was a good wake up call, right? I want to be successful. I don't want to just do things and go broke. And, it's just, that's not the point of this. So I had to make some adjustments, right? If you play baseball and you're nasty at defense, right? But you can't hit the ball, what do? You go get a hitting coach and you learn how to hit better and overcome your weaknesses. And that's what I've done with my investing, right? And personality. That's why I make these videos. I want to share stuff with people and I try to take the emotion out of it. It is exciting, but I try to take the emotion out of it, right? So what I came to realize, so I kind of made this thing for myself, and this is something that I've come to realize, right? So all the mistakes I made, I consider that the cost of my education, right? I didn't go to business school. I didn't go to Wharton. I didn't get an MBA, right? The cost of my education, I learned by doing. I make mistakes. There's a cost associated with that, but I learned, right? Investing is a blood sport, right? The person on the other side of each of these trades was better prepared than I was. So I keep a list of all my bad trades I made back in the day to remind myself of my education, right? Some people keep a degree on their wall to remind themselves of their education. I just keep a list of my bad trades and I look at it every so often and I remind myself. And the key thing is when you're trading stocks and crypto, even buying and selling real estate, there's always somebody on the other side of that trade, right? If you're buying, somebody's selling you that stock. If you're selling a stock, someone's buying it from you. And I always just assume that whenever I make a trade, the person on the other side of that trade is better prepared than me, right? I just assume, like, I don't get like, oh, I'm the greatest gift to investing and all. Nope. I just assume, all right, somebody's trying to get me. I need to make sure that what I'm doing is the right thing. So I slow down. I have a system in place, right? I'm thankful for my education and the lessons I've learned as a result of it, right? So this is, I carry this, right? So what I had to do, I had to reframe my personality and my instincts, right? And that's why I say all the time, I do not invest to get rich. I create enough habits to avoid being poor. And as a byproduct, I may just get rich. So what that means is what I had to do was kind of look at things and say, all right, obviously I can't take my emotional personality out of what I do. I can't change who I am, right? I'm not a quant. I'm not somebody who's just like, who's just dry and all about numbers. Those are the people that make the best investors, right? They're not the most outgoing people, right? But they're just nasty with numbers. They're comfortable in that. And I love numbers and stuff, but it's just, so I know what my weaknesses are. So I had to reframe it. So instead of getting excited chasing a stock, I get excited by learning a new habit and tracking the results of that habit that helps me avoid being poor, right? And I'm working towards a bigger goal by doing enough things to not be poor. As a byproduct, things will happen, hopefully, right? That's the goal. That's that's the point of all this, okay? So how does that relate to crypto and Bitcoin and kind of, because you're going to hear a lot about this. So once you identify what your weaknesses are and how you think and how you react, you can play this whole space much better. It makes it so much easier, okay? Because I'll tell you guys, it's very overwhelming. So when it comes to crypto, okay, there's probably 30,000 cryptocurrencies that you could buy at any given moment. 30,000. All right, let's put that in perspective. 29,960 of them are probably scams, and the rest are garbage. And there's probably 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, maybe 10 that are worth even your time. So if you're interested in learning about Bitcoin and crypto and Solana and all these different things, go on coinmarketcap.com. That's an easy one to start, okay? So this gives you the list, okay? So what I think what happens to a lot of people, all right? So this is where you mess up in crypto, okay? So there's a thing called unit bias. So what that is, so aside from fear of missing out because you turn on the news and the Trump coin is running and, oh my God, I got to get into it. Dave Portnoy just made $1 million last night on Trump coin. Why am I not? How do I buy this? And then you just make dumb mistakes, okay? Another mistake, another weakness that we have as human beings is unit bias, right? So what does that mean? That means that if we look at a chart, so like right here, let's pull this back up and I'll give you a case in point. The number one ranked by market cap crypto is Bitcoin. One Bitcoin is $106,000. Okay. Number two is Ethereum. It's $3,389. Number three is XRP. It's $3.15. So unit bias tells you, shoot, if I got $100, how much Bitcoin do I get? I get 0.00001 Bitcoin, right? That sucks. If I buy Ethereum with $100, I get, 0.001 Ethereum or whatever it is. But man, $100, I can get 30 XRPs. And if XRP goes up $1, I make 30 bucks. Wow. If Bitcoin goes up $1, I make 7 cents. You know what I mean? So that's unit bias. So people naturally want to buy things that cost less that they can get more of because they feel like they're getting better value for their money. Okay. When companies split their stock, okay, when a stock is $2,000 a share and they give you 10 shares for every one, so now you have 10 $200 shares instead of one $2,000 share. They didn't create any value. They didn't dilute the stock. All they did was make a play on unit bias because they know more people will buy their stock and it'll juice the price if it's 200 instead of 2,000. So as a shareholder, you win. So that's the same thing. So a mistake that a lot of people make in crypto is they look at this chart and they just assume that they missed Bitcoin. So the FOMO kicks in. They missed Ethereum. They've heard of Ethereum, but they missed it. And so who's number 3 on the chart? Well, that's only $3. And they go for that. And I'm here to tell you that's not a good strategy because a few people have called me about this particular one. It's not one that I invest in. Okay. And then you just go on down the list, right? Well, damn, Dogecoin's 35 cents. Man, my $100, I could buy like 1,000 Dogecoin. Oh, look at this. Cardano's 90. And they go down this list. And like I told you, 99.9% of the stuff on this list is garbage. Don't do it. Okay. So how do we know what makes a good crypto and what doesn't, right? What's the difference? Because there's really not a lot. So what cryptos are, each one of these, let's go back here for a second. Each one of these coins is a blockchain. Okay, think of it very simply like this, okay? A blockchain is just a network. That's it. So the value of whatever you're investing is how good the network is, okay? So for instance, if I have this most beautiful, amazing building that I just built and nobody goes there, nobody wants to live there. Maybe it's a shopping mall. I built the most amazing shopping mall, right? But nobody shops there. Nobody goes there. Would you put a store in that mall? No, right? So what's the value of that mall with nobody there shopping at it, right? If I build a rail system, right? I take billions of dollars and I build this amazing railroad system that connects Boston to DC, to Chicago, to Toronto, to Montreal. It's amazing, but nobody rides it. What is that rail system worth? It's worthless. Nobody's using the network, right? So each of these cryptos that you see is just a network. And now you as an investor have to determine what the hell is this network worth, right? And how do you do that? So what I've come up with, it's a very simple thing, right? Like, so when you're looking at this list, what makes a good blockchain? So before I invest in something, I got to ask myself, right? Number one, what do you use it for? Number two, is it being used? Number three, is it easy to use? Number four, what's built on it? And then I go and try to use it, right? Because the thing about crypto and what you saw this weekend with Trump coin, like let's pull up Trump coin real quick. Let's pull up the chart and I'll show you what I mean. Trump coin did not exist a week ago. Friday at 9:00 at night, Trump coin was released. Okay. And in the span of a week, Trump coin is now worth $6.6 billion, fully diluted 33 billion. At one point, it was worth double that. Okay. So how do you create value like that overnight with the click of a button? All right. And that's the way that crypto works. Crypto in the short term is very hype and sentiment driven. In the long term, I believe fundamentals will win out. Now let's go back to my personality type I was talking about in the beginning. I'm very susceptible to hype, right? That's my personality. I'm emotional, I'm outgoing, I get excited about things. Hype can suck me in and do me dirty. All right. So I know, so like for me, if you're going to trade on hype, you can do that in short term in crypto. You can play that in basically day trade, but you have to be very good at that. That's a very opposite personality type of me. Me, I've found that I am more of a long-term, buy quality things. Like I said, what makes a good blockchain, right? Determine that, get in early, buy a lot and stack it and just wait because I know that long-term, the fundamentals will win. I don't think it's possible to effectively do both things equally well. You're either a short-term hype based investor and you do really well at that, which I'm not, or you're a long-term buy and hold, you just find a few things that you really understand and that you believe are undervalued and you buy them and you roll with them and you just stack for the future. You have a long-term outlook. That's me. Right now, I think a caveat to that with AI coming, I think there will be some AI that you could buy in the very near future that would trade for you and do a very good job. But until that day comes, we are where we are and it's on us. Okay. So that's where I'm at. So when I talk about this list of what makes a good blockchain, these are the questions you have to really ask yourself. If you want to invest in crypto and you want to be successful, whether that's Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, XRP, whatever it is, right? Those are the first questions. All right. And it's just network driven. So I'll give you an example of a network that went away, right? That was the biggest network in the world and was quickly replaced. Does everybody remember MySpace? Well, apparently it's still around. MySpace.com works, right? It's still around. But what happened to MySpace? Facebook came along and destroyed their network. Why? Well, I think it was a couple of things, right? MySpace was very complicated to use, right? Like my parents weren't going to go on and edit HTML and make a green background and have a new 50 Cent song playing every time you go on their MySpace, right? Facebook came along. It was simple. It was easy. There was none of this craziness. All the profiles looked the same, worked the same. It was just about connecting people. It was a different thing. It was easier to use. And right as soon as they came on the scene, and I think MySpace at the end got too much into ads, so they clogged it up and they just made it unusable. So something cheaper, faster, stronger, easier to use came along. And that's what happened. Facebook ate their lunch. And that's what happens with these networks. So MySpace today really has no value because it's a network that's not used, right? So when you're looking at crypto and you're evaluating crypto, these are the questions you have to ask, right? What makes a good blockchain? Why is this network valuable for? What do you use this network for? Is it being used? Is it easy to use? And what's built on it? And then try it, like try to use it, right? Try to find something you can do on that network. And most of these networks you can't answer any of those questions because nothing is happening on them. They're ghost towns. Nobody uses them. They're impossible to use, right? I'll give you, so XRP is one. Like what is built on XRP? I don't know. There's no daily usage. Ethereum was the biggest like blockchain besides Bitcoin as far as like transactions and moving money and selling collectibles and smart contracts. But it's so expensive and slow that Solana came along and ate its lunch and everything's being built on Solana. And when you use Solana, you understand that, right? And another thing in crypto, like not to pick on XRP, but I'll pick on them, and this is a problem with Trump coin, which is why I don't invest in coins like Trump coin too much because of this, right? So there are 100 billion XRP tokens, right? 45 billion of them are in circulation. The other 55% are owned by the developers. So they just dump on you 1 billion tokens every month. They just release. So they're always dumping on the price. So as a long-term store of value, it doesn't work for me. Now, if you're a short-term day trader, you can play this chart, this XRP chart, and you can win because it is volatile. It moves around. So if that's what you're into, you can play these dips and win. But that's not the type of trader I am. I don't trade like that, right? I buy things, I hold them, and I'll show you what I have in a minute, right? So besides Bitcoin, the only other crypto that I play with is called Solana, right? So Solana's right here. It's another blockchain. A lot of things are happening on Solana. A lot of things are being built. Trump coin was released on Solana. So, I got into Solana a few years ago and, I didn't understand it at first. And then as I learned about it, I got very bullish on it. And since that time, a lot has been built on it. So, while Trump coin was going up, I didn't own any Trump coin, but my Solana performed very well because that's the network that it's built on, right? People are using this network that's being used for. It's easy to be used, right? People can easily onboard into that and it works. So just some numbers on Solana. So you have so Solana every day. So here you have Ethereum, right? So I look at Solana as like the Ethereum killer, right? So in the past 7 days, $90 billion of activity is transacted on Solana, the number one blockchain, whereas Ethereum, $21 billion has been an activity on it. So about 4 to 1. But when you go look at the price, right, you would think, oh man, Ethereum, is so much better because it's worth twice as much, 3 times as much as Solana, but it's not. So to me, Solana's undervalued. That's how I look at that stuff, right? And then you can see where is the money going. A lot of money is leaving Ethereum. So on the left here on this chart is where money is going from different blockchains and where it's going to on the right. And you can see Solana is a lot of money is coming into Solana because Solana is being built out, right? Whereas money's leaving Ethereum. Less money is leaving Solana for other chains than is coming to Solana from other chains. So these are just, I can make 10 videos about this, but these are just different ways that I look at things, by taking my personality out of it and identifying a couple of things that I can 100% articulate. I go in, I know what I want. I'm very hyper focused on certain assets and I go with it. And that's it. And I don't care when the Trump coin comes out. Yes, my personality gets excited and I was excited all weekend, but I didn't chase it. Right? I learned, okay, that's not my strategy. My strategy is long-term, buy quality stuff and hold it for the long term, right? And you can see here what's interesting. So these are my allocations, right? This is what I have in crypto. Okay, so percentage-wise as a whole. So Bitcoin is almost 73% of my bag of crypto is Bitcoin. 25% is Solana. And then less than 2%, these little ones right here are just Solana tokens, part of the ecosystem. I've actually done way better on Solana than these tokens, but this is recent, like 6 months ago, because I started getting into the Solana ecosystem and I wanted to try some different things, but really, my main focus, 98% of what I do is Bitcoin and Solana. That's it. And what's so interesting is when I was buying a lot 2 years ago, 90% went to Bitcoin, 10% to Solana, because I felt Solana was riskier, right? So I went with Bitcoin. So again, I'm very boring. I'm just a buy and hold. I look for things that do well and I roll with that. So some of you financial advisors that watch this would probably say, dude, what are you doing? Because watch this next slide I'm going to show you. I only own 2 stocks. That's it. I own Tesla and MicroStrategy, and they're almost even. This changes throughout the day, but they're about even. That's it. I'm very hyper focused. I learned just pick a few things that work and, stick with that. Don't chase. Just stick to what you know. You have a thesis. It's working long term. If the thesis changes, change, right? You can switch. And then this is my total, right? So I'm about a third Bitcoin, third Tesla, third MicroStrategy, and about 10% Solana. And that's it, guys, right? And it took all of this. It took this education, man, and to learn these lessons and to realize that, hey, that does not work for me. I have the worst personality type to be a day trader. Now I have friends that are very good at day trading, right? I have a friend of mine, he's retired and we had this conversation a lot. He's kicking butt at it, but he has a totally different personality than me. Do you know what I mean? Like that dude, is just different way of looking at things, and so that works for him and he can be very successful that way. But I know my lane and I stay in it. So if you're going to call me and ask me if it's a good idea to invest in XYZ, I would highly encourage you, take that Myers-Briggs test, right? If you're serious about investing, learn your personality, learn your weaknesses, learn what, where you're going to mess up. Because on the other side of every trade, there's somebody who's better prepared than you are. Don't get it twisted. The game is stacked against you. But if you make a plan and you're good at it and you can just be disciplined, you can win, right? Because again, enough habits to avoid being poor. And as a byproduct, you might just get rich, okay? But it's not about get rich quick. That's not the movement here. All right, guys, so a little long, but hopefully it was valuable for you guys, because we're going to see a lot more of this in the news. We're going to see crypto is pumping right now. This year is going to be probably a big year. A lot's going to happen this year. So just be careful. That's all, right? And make a plan and stick to it. All right, guys, take it easy. Have an amazing weekend, and I'll catch you guys next week.